Hello, everyone. This is Rob Barnes with Astrology by Rob.
Hi, I'm Susan, farmer with Astrology and Soul. Sorry
And
about that. I was trying to see if I was recording. Hopefully
right.
I am.
And welcome to Hump Day Astrology. So we do a weekly show that last week we kind of did a little bit of musings, but we talk about transits, talk about different events that are taking place in the sky. Um, we talk about different events that are going on that we're doing. You want to start with kind of some of the things that you're doing?
Sure. I am still doing intention bracelets. I got the charge done for the Sovereign Heart. I like my kids use them all. So I was asking them because they have one of each, and I was asking them a good word, and they're like, power up. You power those bracelets up, and they are really seeing a difference. So that's cool. So the Sovereign Heart is still on sale till next week for, I think it's over 33% off of normal, or 30% off of normal price. And then it will go up next week. And at some point, I'll figure out the next one and let everyone know. And my sessions are open and ready to be booked once again. So there is that.
All right.
What about you? What do you have going on?
Um, I have my astrology study group that'll start on um, the 13th of July. So that's a Thursday night. So you can enroll for that on my website, astrologybyrob.com.
So
And
that's a
you'll find
week
it under
from tomorrow? Yes.
that is a week from tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll be studying each of the planets on whoever's chart um, for the attendees. Whoever shows up will read about. We're going to actually start with the moon since it's in Cancer.
Ooh,
That was an idea uh, from a friend of mine in Germany. So
smart.
yeah, so we're going to do that, and that way we'll be tracking the planets actually in their season. So
Oh, yeah, moon and then sun, and
yeah.
interesting.
Yep. And then astrology and self-study. So this is kind of like astrology um, classes, but it's kind of maybe a lighter version. And
Mm-hmm.
so not with another friend, um, and that'll be the 20th, 27th, and 3rd. So starting on the 20th of July. Um, that's um, that's also going to be online, so you can find that in my Facebook. I don't have it on my website, but on my Facebook, you will get a link. You have to enroll for that one off, obviously, in advance too. And then you and I have on the 21st, which is a Friday night, Discovery Night.
Yeah.
So for the Astrology Club, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Um, I feel like we have so much going on. I'm trying to keep it straight. That's funny. Yeah, Discovery Night is the 21st of July. That is a Friday night at Synchronicities. That is in person. Um, we are doing relocating charts, right? Or
Yep.
so what did we come up with? Does your life or chart change by living in a different place? So does the feeling actually change because of how things shift in your chart? And I think Rob has had a little more experience looking at that stuff. I've pretty much lived here my whole life. I've lived other places here and there, but not as much as he has changed. So that's been really fun, and it's been fun to talk to other people and see how stuff has changed. So if you come that night, we will look that up for you. So you should come. Not if you come,
Yeah.
you should come. And we decided to do buy one get one free this time, right?
Yeah. So it's
Perfect.
$22, right? And basically bring a friend with you.
Mm-hmm.
So $22 will get two of you in the door. So again, enroll
That's a good
online.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And so it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, I have quite a bit of experience already in changing locations and what your chart looks like. And I can't wait to study with everybody and go
Right.
through people. charts and see what their experience is and open their eyes to something new,
Yes,
because it's been really cool.
yes, absolutely. And
So
you can register on either of our websites, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Grab your friend. See you there on the 21st at Synchronicities at 6:30 p.m.
Yes.
Friday night. Yep.
And if you had any snafus registering last time, we apologize. We had a few, it was, I think for me, it was a great experience because it's a silver lining world. It showed us some of the things that we have to work out with 2 platforms and whatnot. So it was great. And the universe wants you there this month. So don't give up.
Yeah. Or message us if you have any issues or questions about
Yes.
getting involved. So
Get in touch. And then that, I mean, we'll have Inquest Night again in August. So
yes.
keep that on your calendars, on your radar, because that's a fun one as well. I felt like a lot of fun going over the stuff we went over that night. It was informative for the people that were there. Yeah, absolutely.
So what we do is we alternate months. So one night it'll be Inquest Night, which is ask a question and we'll answer it through astrology. The other night will be random topics. We'll let you know in advance what they are. Like this month, it's going to be the relocation. But so every other month, we'll study or discuss a new topic. So you'll always have fresh information. If there's things that you're interested in studying, let us know that too. And we'll see where we can fit something like that into our plans.
There's so many things we can look at that give so much more in-depth information about your life.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Astrology Club of Utah on Facebook and like and follow and share it, because that's where you're going to get the information about that.
Yes.
About our club meetings. So
yes.
All right.
Anything else before we dive in? I'm a little scattered today. So
that's all I have.
Okay. Perfect. So this month we have decided to talk about this week. Rob, why don't you just start? I can't.
No, I wasn't laughing at this month. That just got a hold of me, but I was laughing at, so we're going to talk about transits this week. And then it's like when we looked up the different transits, we're, yeah, and no, because Mercury makes 2 aspects and that's it. So instead, since Venus is going to retrograde on the 22nd of July at 28 degrees, we are going to talk a little bit about Venus retrograde today. So this will be our Venus retrograde Hump Day astrology session.
The first one, there might be a few.
There might be.
There might be a few. There's just really interesting things going on with this Venus retrograde, I think. That's why I went blank. That's why I went blanked when I was starting to introduce, because there are a few super interesting facets to this retrograde, this particular Venus retrograde. And I thought, did we decide to talk about one? Did we even decide if we were going to talk about one specifically, or were we just going to do a blanket, go over the whole thing? And my mind keeps like,
yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about it more. Venus retrograde is a fun one to talk about, and the different experiences and events and things that happen. Yeah, that's fun stuff to talk about.
I know we're already seeing with our friends Venus retrogrades happening, and even ourselves.
That scares me.
I've pulled a few Venus retrograde things, and did you say you have as well? I don't know.
Not yet. I'm locking my door.
So this is a Venus retrograde thing. Because we're in this setup and stuff will happen during the setup. And yep, someone I dated a while ago that I haven't talked to for a long time. I always stay friends with the people I date, but so it's not abnormal for me to talk to them again, but it's abnormal for me to contact. That's the abnormal part. Usually they contact me. Only not because I don't want to talk to them, but because I suck at my phone, right? Everyone can agree with that. I just don't reply. I'm really bad at that. So I actually texted someone, which is total Venus retrograde, just saying, like, how are you? I haven't thought about you or talked to you for a while. And they replied back. And have I replied back again yet? No. They asked me as, hey, this question. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So, so tell us a little bit about the nature of Venus. Kind of let us break it down a little bit. What is Venus? When did she start retrograde? What are the dates involved? And what is the general signification for Venus, just so we can kind of have a starting point.
Venus, to me, Venus is like what it's kind of defined in your life as what is pleasant to you, like something you really desire, want to be involved in. And that is going to be different for everyone in their chart, but in a broad spectrum, it is Venus speaks to love and relationships and friendships, even stuff that you really enjoy. It's going to speak to stuff you surround yourself with a lot of times because it makes you feel good. It's going to speak to possessions. But I think, when we're talking Venus, the real two code words I say is like relationships and self-worth. And those things are hand in hand, I think. And it's like, do you love yourself? Do you love who you're with? Who do you love that you want to be with? Do I love my stuff? Do I want this anymore? Because do I love it or not? It's just love. Like I always say, just ask, do I love it during Venus retrograde? That should be your question. Do I love it?
Right.
So what about you? What do you say? I don't know about acquiring new things during Venus retrograde because you might not love it after. You might think you love it, but what about you? What do you say?
So just the general Venus, let's say she plays two roles in a chart. So she is the planetary significator of relationships, self-worth, love, that sort of thing. But then she can double duty for her rulership in your chart. So whatever house cusp starts in the sign of Libra or Taurus, she's the landlord or the ruler of that area of life. And so she's going to carry around her banner of relationships and carry around the banner of whatever those two houses are in your chart. And those are her responsibilities. So she could be relationships and money. She could be relationships and travel, relationships and career, things like that. And so
right. Let's specify
I
totally interrupted you. Every planet does that though.
Yes.
Every planet, luminary. Venus isn't special in that way. They all do it.
She's only special in the fact that she's the planetary significator of love and relationships. Mars
right.
isn't. But you could have Mars ruling the house of relationships, and
yes.
Therefore Mars and Venus both play a role in relationships for an individual. Venus being the planet and Mars being the ruler. So those things would be interesting to track.
So on a general level, like not rulership, what do you call Venus?
Love, relationships, self-worth, money.
Money, the stuff you surround yourself with.
Oh, that I'm buried in.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and then every 18 months, Venus retrogrades. So the retrograde is basically, if you looked in the sky and we're tracking Venus, you'll notice that Venus sets after the sun. And currently, Well, maybe not currently as much anymore. The further away from the sun she is, the higher up in the sky she is when she's setting. So the sun sets, Venus is the bright star in the west setting. What's interesting is what we're seeing is the orbit of Venus around the sun. And so by the time Venus finishes her retrograde, she's going to be on the other side of the sun. And so the sun will set and Venus isn't there anymore. What you have to look for then is a Venus in the morning. And so if you get up before the sunrise, you'll see that big bright white star.
I know, I'm laughing, though I don't ever see that Venus. I know other people do.
Yeah, it's beautiful, both a setting Venus or a rising Venus, either one. So it's interesting, that we're actually watching the astronomical orbit of a planet around the sun. So the dates that she's doing this, I just looked up, and correct me if I'm wrong, the 20th of June is when she went into shadow.
I have the 19th, and we did
Okay.
we did this last time we talked about it. So I don't know where we look that's different.
Right.
I have it at, pardon?
Whose ephemeris are we looking at? Right, yours or mine? So
Right. I think I got on Cafe Astrology. So it had it
but
listed.
either
Yeah.
way, we're within a day, 20th or 19th of June. So what happens is Venus, as she's going forward, she comes up on the 19th or 20th of June, and she drops a little marker in the sky because that marks the place where she's going to retrograde back to. So she continues through the sky, starts to slow down so she can reverse direction, which we call station. And then as she stations retrograde, she goes backwards to that point. And then when she gets back to that point, then she'll station again and go direct, which means forward. And so if in this example, she crosses the same degrees in a chart 3 different times. So the first one we call shadow, then the retrograde is the moving backwards, and then the forward motion again through shadow, because she covers that area 3 different times. So she retrogrades on the 22nd of July. Sorry, the 22nd of July at 28 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
She retrogrades back to 12 degrees something. And then she goes forward again. She'll get to that 28 degrees, which is all the shadow period. And then once she leaves the 28 degrees, then she's no longer in shadow. And I didn't catch that date. Do you have that date?
Yeah, it's October 7th.
Okay.
So if you go back, if you're listening to us and paying attention, you go back to that first date, we said the 20th or 19th of June, literally drop a breadcrumb in your own life. And in the Venus themes we talked about a few minutes ago, take a few minutes to think and ponder what has been happening for you since then. Maybe journal a few things. I think it's usually the easiest way. Journal a few things, just see, like Rob said, astrologers call it a shadow. I call it a setup, not in a menacing way, but it's like, it's showing us these are the themes that are going to be coming up for us in this retrograde. Every planet retrogrades, and all of them have a meaning in our life for what they retrograde for. So we just went over Venuses, other than the rulerships in your chart. We don't know what those are unless we look at your chart. Either of us would be happy to do a Venus retrograde reading for you. So let us know if you would like one of those, and we can let you know specifically. But it's just a really great time. I love retrogrades. It's one of my things. Like, I know we all have our different things. I think retrogrades help us learn and grow in our life, and just show us things to work on. And I've tried so many times to, like, outguess the universe or think I'm cooler because I know my life and I'm going to know, I know my chart, I know my life, I know the degrees, and I get all cocky and ego. And I'm like, this is what it's going to be. I never guess right. So just do journal entries. That's where I'm at now. I'm like, don't even, I mean, you have a, you know your life, but retrogrades they throw you these loops that you're like, oh, I didn't see that one coming. Okay.
Yeah, so in what areas? Obviously we don't know the rulerships because we don't know your individual charts, but it's not uncommon for Venus to be associated with love and relationships.
Right.
And because she's retrograde, or even in these shadow periods, what are we talking about? What's possible?
Are
I'm
you
asking.
asking me?
Yes.
Well, I mean, yeah, just what we've already said, like a relationship can break up. You can start a relationship. You can make more money, not make more, you know what I mean? You can change, don't have plastic surgery, please. But
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of, like, a lot of astrologers will talk about, the past lover.
oh, yeah, because I already said I did that.
Right. So it's not uncommon for someone to show up unexpectedly, that past lover, sometime in the past that shows up. Like you said, you reached out and texted somebody,
Yeah.
and we laughed afterwards that, oh, look at how sweet that is. You did a Venus retrograde thing.
Because usually when Venus retrograde comes around, I'm very cognizant and I'm like, do not do it. Don't. If you think about
And I'm saying, dude,
well, I always say to myself, if you think about it, think about why. Why are you wanting to reach out? What are you yearning for maybe in that relationship realm? Not necessarily them, because you're clearly not into them or you'd be with them.
So let's play this out. Let's say old lover shows up on your doorstep. That's why I said I'm locking my doors. So old lover shows up on your doorstep, and you, for some reason, are enticed because whatever the situation, it's like you just mentioned, there's part of your soul, part of something about you that's like wanting to have some experience. Is it, I want to refresh on my self-worth? Well, I'm going to go date crazy person again. And so by the time I'm done with the retrograde, I'm like, I know why I'm not with crazy person anymore, because it didn't work the first time, but I got a reset on my value.
Right.
You know?
It's a really good time, especially the Venus ones, is like what's subconsciously missing in your life that really brings you enjoyment? What is that? And that is partnership for a lot of people, or partnership is really causing some hardship. And so it's like in your face during that time because there is that yearning for what Venus represents, that love, that,
And
I
sometimes,
just,
go ahead.
no,
Sometimes it just comfort. It's like
yeah.
comfort with the what is known is better than the reality of the person was crazy. I say that. I can't say that I've dated crazy, but I'm just throwing that out there.
Like, wow, you're really talking about crazy a lot lately for this. What's going on with you? Let's
Yeah.
talk after.
So I'm just using that as an example because I know people have done crazy.
Well, it's just even been funny when you and I have hung out with our group of friends or people lately. We've said, our friends have said, what does that mean? And I'm just like, it just means people that you've dated will reach out or you'll reach out to them. And we saw someone a couple days later and they were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it happens. And it's happened to me, in the past. And I've like you instigated things in the past and laugh at myself for it. And the reason why I kind of say, well, maybe go for it. Do whatever you're prompted, with a caveat that I'll get to in a moment. It's like, well, what experience would you rob yourself from sure, you might endure some more crazy, but if you needed that self reset, that self love reset, and you robbed yourself from that experience. So I'm not saying there it's right or wrong. I would say absolutely use caution, and like you mentioned, go deep into yourself and what are you needing? What are you trying to find out? In going through this process, go get to that place. Now, the one caveat is, what if you're married? you know, that might that might be a step that maybe you consider too far, or your partner considers too far. That you spend time with ex-lover, and that an affair, and different things like that. Those
Because those
things can,
things happen too. Yeah.
right. And
And
so,
I will say this one could have a little more of that, only because, and we'll get to this, the squares to Uranus. That can cause some unrest and people breaking through barriers and wanting freedom, only to
yeah,
get that to the end of the retrograde and go, shit, what did I do? Like
oops.
that and cause some really big hardship, which is why I kind of say, I'm not saying don't do it. Like, I just feel like you should probably ask yourself, am I reintroducing something into my life, not with an affair? Like if someone contacts you or whatever, why would I reintroduce this into my life? Like what happened? Why is it not here to start with, and kind of go down that path? That's just been something I've been concentrating on a lot lately in general, not just with Venus retrograde. Like, why would I, someone texts and says that I haven't a friend that I haven't gone to lunch with forever, and like, hey, sorry, we had a dispute or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't know though, because we seem to dispute. So what is that? What will that person bring to your life? And is it something you're really wanting? And if there's a hole there and it's something you're really yearning for, kind of like Rob said, other than I won't promote affairs, go for it and see what happens. Like that's what these retrogrades are here for, those experiences.
I kind of look at it as, that one day, Cinco de Mayo. I understood the tradition of Cinco de Mayo was that's the one day God turns his head.
Okay.
So go ahead, do whatever you're going to do for that one day, this sin-free day, you know. So, I kind of look at Venus retrograde as 40 days of Venus turns her head. And now we have all these themes that are Venusian, but not in her correct or direct manner. So these could
Yeah,
be.
explain that a little more when you say like Venus turns her head. So I get when God turns his head. It's like it's a
Mhm.
sin-free day. What does it mean? So is
And
Venus
babies
not
are born
there
9 months later.
anymore? Huh?
And babies are born 9 months later.
And
That would be interesting to check out
for
what
the
that day.
postmans?
But so I've heard like Venus retrograde scripturally tied to the 40 days that Jesus was tempted by the devil, you know, and all these different things that he had to overcome through those 40 days. And so I kind of look at this Venus as, the 40 days. Similarly, what temptation, because it's not Venus acting in a pure, direct manner, love and relationships and sex and joining and happiness and sociality and whatever. It might be those things, but maybe with a darker tint to it. Maybe more of the subconscious urges that aren't that are more secretive or not as light. So these might be difficult energies, and might have to play out before you actually see what's happening. So I'm saying
Yeah,
go there and see what is it? What do you find?
I would
Because
Did you mean go there or think about it and then go there? Or do you just mean go there?
Go there deep within yourself
Okay.
to understand what's the experience that you're needing, wanting from whatever shows up,
Right.
because it may or may not be the right thing to go jump in,
Or
right?
even coffee.
Right. Coffee might lead to
Maybe
whatever.
not even an egg roll.
Yeah. So, and no more text messaging.
Yeah.
So,
But
so
I
yeah, I
think
don't want to
I think I love the point you're making, which is like, don't make it a firm no.
yeah,
I
just
do
never
love
know.
that. Because I kind of live with those extremes. I'm like, no. So I love that aspect you're bringing to it.
Well, I've taken a look at my Venus retrograde in Leo all the way back to 1991 to try and see if I can make sense of it.
Right.
So, so had I been consciously aware of some of these things, I wonder what may have been different. Could I
Yes.
have made different choices? Maybe so.
Well, and I was going to say a minute ago as well, when you were speaking, that it is in Leo. So it is a very um individual, about the individual retrograde. It is very much about you and what kind of you want to go do, and how you're gonna shine. And I mean, I'm trying to get Venus retrograde words in here as well, because Leo is about you and what you're great at and what you're good at. So adding a Venus retrograde is like, pay attention maybe to you. This is more you centered, I would think. It's always on the polarity with Aquarius, but
And possibly high profile you,
yes.
high profile being, Leo. Leo wants to be seen and enjoyed and, honored. And so if you're having this Venus in Leo, naturally we want to, have that love and loyalty and all the romance and, fun that Leo is, you know,
Mhm.
but then when Venus turns her head, it's like, what happened to the loyalty? What happened to, you know, all the nice things? Do we get a little darker side of the Leo Venus?
Which I mean, I'm getting a little deep here, so you can stop me if you want. I find it interesting because I feel like Venus going through Cancer recently was a really kind time of maybe taking the first step in relationships, maybe of being, it just felt as we went through it, and I've talked about it and a few other things. It was a, when you get into these relationship ruts with people, a lot of times we start acting like, well, you have to do this. If you don't do this, then I'm not going to do that. Right. And really focusing on the other person. And when that Venus came into Cancer, it just felt like it became a little softer. And it was a time that people could say, well, what if I did? And it brought people together. So then we're shifting into this Leo Venus retrograde that could bring us back there. Like, if your relationship's struggling or whatever, are you demanding to be treated like a queen or a king? Is that, I know in a past video I talked about the sovereign king and queen, or the what's the one who torments people? Tyrannical. You just, are you being that? What kind are you being? And that could be a good theme into this retrograde as well. Like, how are we approaching relationships? Are we demanding, which I'm not saying we shouldn't demand, certain aspects in relationships, but there's a time to love as well. I don't know if this is going to be that time when we're feeling that. It might.
But when we talk about a reset, it's like part of you need this. You need this reset. So what's going to get you there and what's the end result? I think of engaging in whatever Venus retrograde is going to bring, and the decisions that we make. Beware that decisions made in Venus retrograde might often be unmade after Venus goes direct again.
And
So,
in Leo for the world to see,
right,
if
right.
not during, after.
Would you say high drama dealing with this?
Probably.
Oh, I can tell you from my past experience, very high drama
Yes.
Leo retrograde stuff.
Yes.
Kind of brings up a point. You can go back in your own chart and track. It doesn't even have to be your chart. Maybe you've kept journals, or maybe you have Facebook that's old, or your pictures, or whatever. Every 8 years, you're going to experience this Venus retrograde in Leo.
Yes.
So that means this one, 2023. Then we go back to 2015. And it's all what, July,
July,
August,
August.
July, beginning of August timeframe. So 2015, 2007, 1999, and 1991.
And we stopped there.
Yeah.
We're like, that's good.
But every 8 years. So as a little experiment, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back and see if, for me, Venus plays the double role of relationships, since she's the relationship planet, but she also rules my relationship house. And so for me, and Leo is my career or reputation or general life direction. It's 10th house. So this is all happening 10th house squaring my 7th house of relationships.
So
wow.
Explain what a square is.
Square is a 90-degree angle, and in astrology that causes some friction, that causes some action. Something has to be done. Some actions have to be taken.
Yep. And it's really not anyone's fault, but action is taken. Yeah. People might try to blame, but there's really no blame to be had. It's just two different directions.
I won't get into details on these because this is my dirty laundry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I understand.
But imagine getting married, my first marriage, 1991, August 1st, on a Venus retrograde, station retrograde that day.
So that means that's one of the, when we say station, when we give these dates, when it stations retrograde or stations direct, those are some of the strongest times of Venus retrograde. So Rob chose to get married.
So you'd think if this is the start of my marriage, that there would be Venus retrograde themes in my marriage, right?
Yes.
All right, so fast forward 1999, I'm separated, but we don't get divorced. But that Venus retrograde separation. 2007, I had already divorced, and guess what? Remarried her. And on my way out the door again. So the second divorce.
Yeah.
So that timing to me is just amazing.
Yeah.
2015, a pretty big breakup with a different person.
Mm-hmm.
And the timing, I just can't imagine the timing of this stuff.
Yeah.
All of these were either on the retrograde or like 1 week into it or 2 weeks into it, something like that. Like, this is crazy. I was surprised myself how involved this was.
I know. I mean, not that I'm excited about what happened to you. I love that lots of times you're like, I don't have experiences. And this one was quite an experience to look back at, because you did at first say, yeah, I can't think of anything. Yeah. And then you started diving into some stuff, and Like, woo.
I'm like, oh, if that happened 8 years ago, what about 16? What about 24? What about
Right.
32? And every single one of them, some major
Yeah.
change took place in the area of life of my relationships and 10th house social status. I mean, there were career themes too in each of
Right.
these,
Right.
but the relationships seemed to be bigger than what the career things were that I was going through.
Right. So I did pose the question to Rob,
Uh-oh.
uh, what's gonna happen this time? I was like, that'll be interesting to watch. And what, like, through that 32 years basically of learning from Venus retrograde, with some pretty strong Venus retrograde themes, that happen in many people's lives. What advice would you give to work with, like, really thinking of it in that way? I'm super interested in what he'll say. So I couldn't come up with the same kind of stuff in my life. And like, I got married and stayed married and liked it. And I don't know.
I saw a meme. That's where I got the idea of locking the door. I saw a meme, and it was a door with like 20 different locks on it. And I said, I hear ex-lovers come back during Venus retrogrades, so not this time. And so no, I just, we're approaching, and in my mind, I'm like, there's nothing,
Yeah.
there's nothing that I can see out there that is
Right.
even a possibility. So anything that shows up is going to be surprise to me. And I'll follow up. I'll be happy to follow up, with when we talk about Venus retrograde some more. If some crazy something happens, I end up going to Vegas and getting married next month or something. I don't know. Just
Don't
kidding.
don't come tell me, because I'll be like, oh gosh, I can't even do hump day with you anymore.
Anyway, it'll be interesting.
Yes. Yes. Interesting. So we're at a point where we could call it and talk about Venus retrograde on a different day, because there's a lot of fun things we can go into, just as teasers. Venus is chasing Mars, but won't catch him. There's a lot to do with that. Venus is also, having pretty strong relationships with both Jupiter and Uranus in this retrograde, which bring some cool and difficult scenarios around, lots of just what else.
So I'm going to throw a teaser out there. I didn't tell you I was going to say this.
Okay.
We'll see what Susan's reaction is.
Uh-oh.
When Venus conjuncts the sun in August,
Right.
um, we're thinking about maybe putting a class together
Yeah.
to do this Venus retrograde. And by then, you're already in the experience. And we might want to have a class where we can come talk about our experiences and what's happening. What are some ways we can work with the energies? Some way to make it out of this thing the best way possible. So, give us feedback. What do you want? Do you want something like that? Because we'd love to do it.
Yeah, my reaction to that is fabulous. We talked about this earlier where, I said to Rob, we both have we both love astrology. We both do it a little different and have some different tools. And how cool would it be to come and do a Venus retrograde class with people? Well, he had the idea with people in the thick of it, which I loved. And really giving tools, like real tools, because I'm getting in, y'all know, I'm getting into herbs, I'm getting into concoctions, like just herbs and oils and whatevers that actually helps people, and then we have the astrology. And I remember in the Mars retrograde in June, I passed out lotion that helped. It was like a Mars helper, and got a lot of feedback. I still have people saying, I liked that one. Do you have any more of that one? I'm like, I mean, yeah, I don't know if it will do the same thing. It might. But so how fun to be able to do a class where we're not only teaching you the astrology and the life and the skies, we're also bringing it to like stuff on the earth with herbs and that we can help, like really help. And that makes me excited.
Yeah.
It will
So
help you lock your doors.
send us some feedback when you get to this point in the video. Say, yes, we want the class. And that'll encourage us to make sure we put it together.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Okay.
All right. I
All right.
think
We'll
we're good.
more for later.
Awesome.
Okay. Thanks, y'all.
Yep. See ya. Bye.